Dr.
This is
Wallace,
part 2 of the Sunday, April 12th, 2020 call with Charlie Moore.
and tonight we're going to pick up on page 764. So that's where we are right now. It is in the prime. It is in the prime cure. I think it started out on page 1258, didn't it? Was that it?
Yeah, 1258.
Yeah.
We're at today.
1258. Okay. So it's in one of those two books, and we're starting out. This can get a little heavy duty here. The potential elements of proof found in Wallace's journal, Godlike Power. Because we did cover a lot last week about how Neothink and Neotech, how they both, Mark and also Dr. Wallace, how they continue to prove what they're saying. And the proof really makes it's just incredible that they can have this much proof and evidence that this is probably about the truest writings ever created in mankind. So when we go through this, and this goes, I want to cover almost all of these pages here. There's like 3, 4. It's basically 4 full pages. I'm going to try and cover as much as possible here. But the first thing he says is, existence exists. And it sounds like he's just repeating himself, but you have to stop and think of what he's really saying here. Existence exists. He's basically saying it's always been here. Existence in this universe, it's like there's no way to explain eternity, but it's always been here. And we don't have to sit here and try and figure out how long that is. And it's always going to be here. It won't end. And that's a thought that most humans, well, basically, just about everybody cannot wrap their heads around. Never ending. And that's exactly what he's talking about here. And he says, existence is axiomatic, endless, eternal. Had no beginning and it has no end. It just is constant. Existence exists eternally with no prior causes. Okay? It never changes. No matter what happens, existence will always be here and it will always go. It's not going to stop. It's not going to start again. There's no prior causes to it. It's just there. Consciousness is not only an eternal part of eternal existence, but it is eternal controller of existence. So consciousness, he's saying that basically it's not only an eternal part of eternal existence, but it is the controller of existence. We can control consciousness. We can control existence. Wow. You realize the power that we have? The power of our minds? That we can control existence? It's all here. This is why, this is why I get excited about this information every day, because of the power that it has. You think these people, these elite, we always talk about how much power they have over us. That ain't nothing compared to the power that we have. We could shut them down in a couple days if there was enough of us. We could have the sea of you at the end of the week if we wanted it bad enough, and if we had the numbers, and if we believed in this, and if we believed that we had the power in our brains. We could knock this out in no time at all. They wouldn't know what hit them. We would have that mentality shift happening overnight just by believing in these words. Individual human consciousness is the greatest value in the eternal existent, the seminal value from which all other values flow. All values flow from human consciousness. It's the greatest value in eternal existence. Our minds, ourselves. treat this life of ours, this AC world has no respect for our lives. Life is cheap here. You know, how many people are sitting here seeing these numbers on the TV screen every day? How many people are dying from the virus? Oh, that's awful. But how many times do we really feel that, wow, that's a lot of people? We have to start to really take stock on how we feel about human life. It has to become our number one priority. So the greatest social value among conscious beings is honest, competitive business combined with objective law and justice. The two things that'll make all of us keep growing forever. Competitive business, honest business. You're giving a good service or a good product for a decent price. That's how this world grows. That's how we all grow. And we do it with objective law and justice. Now, objective law, basically, if you're talking about objective law, you believe it, but you are not influenced by your personal feelings when we say objective law. All right? We know it's true. We know it's right. And even if you think that, well, this person doesn't deserve that kind of law, no, that's the law. It's objective. And there's a difference, so always think about that. Valid knowledge is contextual and hierarchical. Valid ideas are hierarchical paradigms of contextual facts. Valid knowledge, all right? Knowledge based on honesty. Knowledge based on science. Knowledge that's real, true. It has to be that kind of knowledge. I mean, let's face it. And it's hard to handle, like when I first came here, I was 57, and I thought I was a pretty smart guy. I know I wasn't the smartest guy around all the time, but I thought I knew things. But all the things that I knew, basically, were not this kind of knowledge. And the realization of that kind of, when it does hit you, it's like, whoa, wow, geez. Well, then what do I know? And that was around the time when I was realizing that this is the true knowledge. So I got to go back to school and learn it. Because all the things I knew previous, just about all of it, didn't matter. It was knowledge from this AC world. And how much knowledge do you think that we get that's actually true and based on facts? Not a hell of a lot of it's out there. So you have to start realizing that, I got to really start to pay attention here. Because conscious knowledge is limitless. Because knowledge always begets new knowledge, geometrically up to the speed of light. But I love that saying. Knowledge always begets new knowledge. You learn something new in a whole new different topic or something, you're always going to learn something new about that all the time. Because knowledge continues to grow, and we have to grow with it. And then we can start actually learning at the speed of light. Because you can't learn anything faster than the speed of light. That's the fastest known thing that we know of right now. Now imagine eventually you can go faster than the speed of light, or you can do this or that. But right now, that's the ultimate way of predicting how faster we can go with knowledge or moving through space or whatever. But it's limitless, and we have to get that word into our vocabulary all the time. My mind is limitless. The essence of human consciousness is goodness. By nature, human consciousness is noble, rational, honest, just, compassionate, value-producing, benevolent, many things about how good something is. But that's what human consciousness is. And do we see that anywhere in this world today? You might see something pop up here. Maybe someone was rational today or something, or someone was noble today. But all those things together, have we ever felt all those things together as a human being with a conscious mind? I don't even know if I don't think I felt all those things at one time. And then he comes right back and says the only disease of this human consciousness is mythicism, and we all have plenty of that to go around, because we have to fight that every day, and they throw new ones at us every day. So we might get rid of 10 today, and then tomorrow they're going to throw 20 new ones at us, or maybe we got rid of 1,000 today, and then tomorrow they're going to throw 2,000 at us. But we have to pick and choose what we want to believe in. So we don't have to pick up a lot of new mythicisms out there if we don't want to, because we have to start to separate. And when you separate, you're not picking up many new ones because you're too busy getting rid of old ones. That disease destroys the natural good of human consciousness. That disease causes all wars and crimes, including politically inflicted property destruction, harm, sufferings, cruelties, and death. Such evils are inflicted by force or fraud to support the lives of open criminals, subhumans, such as muggers and rapists, or the much more evil, hidden criminals, humanoids, such as destructive politicians and killer-type bureaucrats, like what happened at Waco he talks about. Politicians are humanoids. They have sold their conscious mind. They just gave it up. They threw it away and they buried it. And all they think about now is power, power, power. They are humanoids. They're like zombies, basically. They're just walking around with no feelings whatsoever about us. Camouflage mythicism and deceptions used to drain, harm, and kill human beings is called neo-cheating. When someone is draining you or causing harm, and obviously killing human beings, it is neo-cheating. It's taken us away from doing something good. It's destroying part of our soul, or it's killing us. Government is killing us. The elite wants us to die. It's absolutely incredible, and to watch all this, it's just incredible what's going on today. Neo-cheaters are highly intelligent humanoids in whom that disease of mythicism has destroyed the human nature of their conscious minds. Thus, such neo-cheaters are no longer human beings. Understand that.
Well, Vision's Party destroyed itself back in 2020, asshole.
They are humanoids who have destroyed the conscious structure of the human existence needed to enter the civilization of the universe. I don't think it can get any more flat out honest than that. They are humanoids. That's slapping you in the face with the honesty there. It's hard to turn those people back into human beings. It's almost impossible. So if this mentality shift, if it was just a wave coming over this planet, they wouldn't survive. Because they have no conscience left. They have no consciousness left. To parasitically exist, neo-cheaters purposely propagate a bizarre, irrational civilization on planet Earth within which conscious life always moves towards unnatural death instead of natural immortality. If this AC world was it's getting worse, obviously. actually turn us now to unnatural death. See, death is not natural. You notice you put unnatural in front of it. Death is not natural. It's unnatural. Nobody ever told us that before. This unnatural, transitory, anti-civilization is macroscopic existence and somewhat analogs to the unnatural, transitory, antiparticle, and microscopic existence. All right, that's a mouthful there. It's just that they are constantly doing everything unnatural to us. Everything. Nothing comes out of their mouth, nothing comes out of their laws, nothing comes out that's a natural element that would be in the Sea of You. Nothing in this AC world is natural. We must understand that. Nothing. It's all unnatural. Not supposed to be here. And that's how we were raised. That's what we have lived in our whole lives. And we're still living in it now. It's another reason why you just ask yourself, what they're doing. Is this natural? Are we supposed to live this way? Penned in our houses? With this constant fear-mongering by them? We're in a police state. This is not natural. But prior to this, we were still living in a police state. When you have initiatory force on you all the time, that's a police state. And we always think that we have all these freedoms. Well, we don't have. We don't have many freedoms left at all here. And we'll have less when this is all over. That's all unnatural. As the bizarre antiparticle vanishes forever on contact with natural matter, the bizarre anti-civilization will vanish forever on contact with the natural civilization of the universe. Instantly, when we cross over to the Sea of You, this anti-civilization vanishes, and everything in it vanishes in a heartbeat. That's it. It's over. It can't compete. It's impossible. The supreme value of human consciousness will always be preserved by advanced civilizations using multi-dimensional transceiver technology in quantum state digitalized cyberspace. These technologies integrate rational consciousness with the existence field throughout the civilization of the universe. Technology, visualized cyberspace, all that goes with our consciousness to move us forward, not to hurt us, not to keep us down, not that most of the technology today is against us. It's not making our lives better. It's controlling us. We have no privacy left. That's not the way it's supposed to be. By the fact of their continued existence, civilizations, technology advanced significantly past their nuclear decision thresholds, are free from the disease of mythicism. When we get past that nuclear decision, technology now is free from the disease of mythicism. Thus, all such advanced civilizations are a part of the civilization of the universe. How many great technological advances have we seen that's good for us? And how many advancements have they made is not good for us? I think the not good outweigh the good. In most areas, no one can predict the state of technology 100 years ahead, certainly not 1,000 years ahead, much less 1,000,000 years into the future. We cannot even imagine the technological state and economics of the advanced societies throughout the civilization of the universe. So we can't predict where everything's going to be. I think there'll be a lot more predictions in the future once we do get past this nuclear threshold. Up until then, that could destroy us all. We haven't passed that yet. And all those other planets out there, the millions of planets that are probably populated, all right? And if I would think the ones that have been around millions and millions of years longer than planet Earth have great technology if they got past the nuclear threshold. And I can go on and on with that whole topic, but I won't right now because it's always been one of my favorite here. We can, however, know that no society, regardless of how advanced, can contradict the laws of physics or nature. Moreover, we can know that conscious beings throughout the civilization of the universe will never purposely act to violate their natural well-being and happiness. Now we're getting a little more detailed here. It's basically, everybody believes in UFOs and these people living are inside the earth and they're aliens and they're walking around with us. Well, if you really get into what Frank R. Wallace believes, and I really believe it too, because it does make sense. If a spaceship, or whatever how they travel, came from a million light years away, and they arrived here, they are so more advanced than we are, obviously. But they, at one time, on that planet, they had to get past the nuclear threshold. And to give you a perfect example, we haven't yet, right? And the space program here was going great for the U.S. We don't even have a shuttle now because we can't afford it. So how can a society put together all this technology if they're still fighting each other? You have to get past that nuclear threshold where we don't blow each other up, where we are one world peacefully, not forcefully. And that's what he's saying here. So look at the advancements that we could make if we get past the nuclear threshold. Then we're in the sea of U. But until that moment, we are not. The best nature of rational conscious beings has never and will never change. All right, the rational conscious. No rational being would ever let technology overtake his or her nature, self-control, self-responsibility, growth, and happiness. For that loss of control over oneself, one's greatest value, would be self-destructive and irrational. Indeed, all conscious beings in the sea of U are free of such irrationality or any other impediments on the growth and happiness of individual consciousness. We would never let technology overtake our nature, our self-control, our self-responsibility, growth, and happiness. Never. And yet it has taken over already. They aren't making technology to help us, to have a better life, to advance us. It's about controlling us. They are going against every rationality out there. Constantly doing this. Day in and day out, 24 hours a day. They are going after our rationality, our self-control, our own nature. Now you can see why life is so cheap. Because they just don't have any of that. They aren't rational beings. Thus, conscious beings in the sea of U have the same nature. They live for happiness and the emotions of genuine self-esteem and love. Indeed, the moral purpose of conscious beings is to meet the requirements for achieving rational happiness. All right. We talk about happiness a lot, and yet how many of us are truly happy? But then Frank Wallace puts it up there a little higher. Rational happiness. Now that's the difference between being happy. Oh, well, today's my birthday. I'm happy. That's nice. But are you really happy with it? You should be that. You should be. Rational happiness is basically happiness every day, but it's based on you. What you're doing every day, while you're living your essence, while you're putting more values into society and taking out. That's rational happiness. Advancing. Oh, I'm happy. I'm going to the ball game today. It's a little different. The nature of existence includes objective law and justice, which characterize the sea of you. Number two, the limitless value of each conscious being when functioning in a rational civilization. The limitless value. Just imagine this world, and everybody understands the rational, and they all know that they have limitless value. Wow. Because right now, all we have is limit. We can't do this, you can't do that. I can't do that. Oh, I could never do that. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. The dynamics of continuing, expanding value production and prosperity, which demands eternal value production and prosperity, which demands eternal preserving the supreme value of every conscious being. The continuing expansion of value production and prosperity, which is preserving the supreme value of every conscious being. Imagine every one of us on this planet has a supreme value. Over 7 billion people. It's hard to wrap our heads around that. And that as we look at everybody, that when we can walk down the street again and not 18 million miles away from each other, we can look at everybody and realize that their life is just as precious as my life. They are producing maybe more than I am. Who knows, man? But that everybody has a value. And it sounds crazy. It sounds impossible sometimes. And if we stay in this AC water, will always be impossible. But we aren't like those other people right now. We are neo-thinkers. We are people who believe in this future. We are people who see the value of life, the value of our life, our family's life, the value of every businessman out there who's not ripping people off. The most bizarre characteristics of the anti-civilization are its overpopulation and aging problems. In any rational civilization, overpopulation and aging are impossible. Think about that. There's so many people out there now, who want us all to die because we're overpopulated. No, not overpopulated. They just don't want to control this many people. And aging, let the people die. But it's impossible in the civilization of the universe. Exactly the opposite occurs. When free of destructive humanoids, each conscious being is free to productively, culturally, and artistically innovate and flourish without limits, becoming a priceless value to others and society. For each conscious being in a rational civilization is free to innovate and produce through division of essence dynamics for far more values and resources than he or she consumes, always putting in more than taking out. Always increasing in value while always decreasing entropy, conscious beings remain forever young and precious. Forever young and precious. I'm in for that. I don't know about you, but I'm in for it. Forever young. Thus, in the open-ended civilization of the universe, a great demand for volitionally conscious people always exists. When free in an open and rational society based on objective law, each conscious individual enormously benefits and enriches all other conscious individuals and their societies through eternity. Therefore, each conscious being will eventually contribute more value in society than its entire population at every given point in time. Wow. It just gets better and better as we go through this. As time goes on, in the Sea of You, life continues to grow. Technology continues to grow. We control nature now. There's no more forces of nature. There's just the forces of Neothink. In a couple hundred years from now, or even possibly sooner, we will have, in our language, will not be the word death. Kids will be raised without even knowing that people died centuries before them. Imagine that. Being born into a world where there's no more death. They will never experience what it's like to lose a loved one. That sounds absolutely impossible. Being raised in a society where no one dies, only produces, only creates. A world so full of pure love that it's just glowing through the universe. Knowledge and technology increase endlessly. All advance in civilizations required developing even greater and cheaper energy sources and production efficiencies. Just constantly, just moving forward endlessly through life. Prosperity and happiness of conscious minds do not depend on their actual level of knowledge or technology, but depend on their rational thinking and acting processes required for continually advancing knowledge and technology from any level. Depends on our rational thinking and acting processes. Rational thinking again. He's always throwing that word around. Rational. Because we don't know what that's like. Is any of our so-called leaders out there rational? No. Never have been. Never will be in this world. Never. Throughout the universe, every level of advancing knowledge and technology exists. Thus exists a technological level of conscious beings whose most efficient production of values depend on the unsupervised development and utilization of free will conscious beings, such as found in the anti-civilization exists today on planet Earth. For each such transceivable conscious person would provide endless values to all individuals and society in the Sea of You. Everyone produces. Everyone has the ability to do that, and they want to. Every populated area in existence has the economic growth, needs for which each individual, conscious beings from any civilization will be in immense value. Thus, honest conscious beings anywhere in existence are never allowed to perish. Never allowed to perish. Now talk about the value of life. Remember Miss Annabelle, when the population kept growing and not that many people were dying, how everybody was diving in now to stop all these accidental deaths. We had the health situation under control. Nobody was going to die from the health. But now was all the accidents and how to make everything so safe. And then when that last person died, the world really suffered. Imagine that. Imagine the world suffering from one person dying. A little different than today, isn't it? When New York City alone, 700, 800, 900 people dying every day for the last 5, 6, 7 days now. That's insanity. And we don't even think about it. Oh, yeah, that's a shame. But it's I can't, it's hard to comprehend. 7, 8, 9, 10 billion people, and they're all upset because one person died. Wow, what a difference. In Earth's anti-civilization, honest conscious beings is transceived and redeemed on a commercially profitable basis into the sea of view. In other words, essentially every honest conscious being who has ever lived on Earth continues to live, flourishing internally in the civilization of the universe. But the harmful humanoids of past history self-proclaim themselves to perish, to vanish from existence forever in the astralism matrix, which is basically exclusion from a society. So that all vanishes. Thus, justice and rationality are preserved through immortality. Something that a lot of us don't have our heads wrapped around yet. But that is the ultimate goal of Neothink and Neotech. Biological immortality. Living. Enjoying life. Doing what you want. Can't wait to get up in the morning because life is just so good. And then, but how do you, that's something that we have talked about before. How do we start to wrap our heads around something that we never experienced? Imagine waking up and each day is like better than the last, and you're so full of exhilaration, and now, and you lay there in the bed in the morning and think about it and say, wow, I got millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of years here. I don't have to worry about anything anymore. Life is just so great, and it's not going to stop. That's what this is all about. And yes, when I was talking about it the other day, I was talking about it on the Saturday call, and I was reading this one book, and it was something like a Miss Annabelle, and the guy and it took them decades to start wrapping their head around that they are going to live forever. Because this mentality shift hit, and the people who didn't believe in it died, and everybody else lived, and they were just prospering and prospering. And him and his wife were planning a 200-year-old vacation. How hard it is for us to plan a 2-week vacation. And they were planning a 200-year vacation. Because you got literally, they had all the time in the world. How do you pack for a 200-year-old vacation? Anyway, Karen, your thoughts or ideas?